The room door pulled open, and Kaelin entered, bowing to his king. He watched the king's tired face, knowing he hadn't rested since last night. His jaw clenched. He shouldn't have been so caught up with his feelings for Kiva. He should have done his duty as the queen's guard, but yet he let his feelings get to him, and here was the result of his action. He cleared his throat, gaining the attention of the king. The maid who poisoned the queen has been captured. Darium nods, not saying anything. He wanted to make sure Letitia was okay before leaving her side. Until she opens her eyes, the maid can wait, rioting in the dungeon for all he cares. Kaelin, taking the king's silence as a cue to leave, stares at the queen one last time. They had gotten close to each other during the past few months, and he considered her a sister he never had. Seeing her like this was heartbreaking to him, and he swore to make whoever was responsible pay for their crime as he walked out of the room. Time passed by. Within a blink of an eye, it was noon. Princess Neith had managed to drag her brother out of the room for him to freshen up and rest, but her brother was too stubborn, giving in to half of her demands. The king only left the room to tidy up himself because Princess Neith had convinced him that if the queen were to wake up any moment, she wouldn't want to see the king all tethered. He didn't want to spend even a second away from Letitia, so he had a quick bath. The quickest he had in his life, and once he was done, he changed into a clean new cloth. The king didn't bother drying his hair and instead made his way back to where Letitia was. Darium returned to his chamber and found the healer already there with his apprentice, but that was not what caught the king's attention. It was the look on the healer's face, causing fear to grip his heart at the possibility of hearing bad news. He wasn't sure if he was prepared for it. "Is it okay if we talk outside, Your Majesty?" the healer requested. The king complied, following him outside the room in the hope that nothing was wrong. "What seems to be the matter? Is there something wrong with the queen?" Darium asked, concerned. "The queen is slowly getting better and will be back to normal in a few days or weeks." "Get to the point. I can tell something seems to be the problem. If her health is okay, then what is it?" He was already agitated and anxious to know what was wrong, and the healer taking his precious time to lay out the news wasn't doing him any good. Instead, it just made him feel 10 times worse. "As you are aware, Your Majesty, we were all too busy last night trying to come up with an antidote for the queen that we failed to do a body check on her. It was only this afternoon, when you left to go freshen up, that the queen's maid came in to help clean her up. That was when we realized Queen Letitia had blood pooled down her thigh." The king looked even more confused, having no clue what the man in front of him was saying. Was the queen okay or not? What did he mean? She had blood pooling down her thigh. Darium was getting angry by the second. Why can't the old man just say what was wrong instead of beating about the bush and trying to confuse him? "Can you just fucking say what the matter is?" he yells, frustrated, glaring at the man in front of him. The healer gulped, not really sure how to give the king such bad news, but there was no way he could hide it or sugarcoat it. There was no denying the news was going to wreck him and the queen, not just them, but the people as well. Taking a deep breath, he mustered up the courage as he said those dreadful words. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty, but the queen had lost a baby."
Darium's POV.
Time froze. The only sound that could be heard was the fast beating of my heart. My mind went blank. It was like everything stopped. I keep repeating the words of the healer over and over again in my head, in case I must have heard them wrong. My breath stopped when the look on his face cleared the doubt I was feeling. My breath stopped, and I felt the chill run down my bones. The mouth of the healer kept moving, but I couldn't hear a word he said. Even when Neith walked up to me with Nico by her side, my mind seemed to have stopped. It's not true, and it can't be true. How could he be sure? It could have been anything, maybe her monthly flow. I stumbled back as if I were being pushed backwards and kept on moving backwards, almost falling to the ground if Nico hadn't held onto my hand, holding me still. No. No. My eyes became blurry, and my breath hitched as I exhaled. I tried to breathe, but it seemed difficult. "Are you certain? Are you sure you aren't mistaken?"
"Sadly not, my king. The queen was indeed pregnant and had lost the baby due to the poison in her system."
Neith gasped, her hands on her mouth, holding back tears. It could be anything. What about her monthly flow? I asked, adamant to believe his words because believing him meant Letitia and I had lost a child before we even got to meet him or her. I'm sorry, my king, I wish that was the case, but it isn't. The healer said. This news would no doubt shatter her. I wouldn't be able to bear it seeing her broken face. It would be better if she didn't know about this. Letitia should not know about this. I ordered, and my eyes darted from the healer to Neith and Nico. Darium, I don't think this is a great idea. Neith says, Letitia has the right to mourn the child she just lost. She would be devastated if she found out about this from someone else that isn't you. I said I don't want her knowing, and that is final. I yelled, my veins popping out due to the anger I was feeling inside. She has already been through enough and hasn't woken yet. The last thing she needs is to hear such heartbreaking news. Unless you plan on telling her, there is no way she is ever going to know. I stared at the healer. Do well to make sure your apprentices don't say a word. I left the hallway immediately. I needed air. I walked towards the stable, climbing onto my horse and racing out of the palace with full force. I lost a child. The words kept on repeating over and over in my head, and I didn't realize I had gotten to my destination, the lake. I got down from the floor, taking a seat on the grass. My mind goes back to the last time I was here, when I was with Letitia. We made promises to come back here, but due to how busy it got, we never got the chance to come back here. A single lone tear ran down my eyes, and another, until it turned into full-blown tears, and I found myself screaming out to the world. The guilt I felt intensified. It was all my fault. I should have never left her side. I should have been there to protect her. Protect them. But I failed them, Letitia, and our baby. I was a terrible husband and father. This was all my fault. Not realizing as the time went by or the fact that the weather had changed and it was raining like the clouds were crying along with it. I felt a presence behind me, and Nico stepped forward, taking a seat beside me with the rain pouring down on us. Darium, you need to get back to the palace. Being out here isn't going to do any good to you. Your words aren't going to work, so save them and leave me the fuck alone. I said stony, not caring if my tone came out harsh. Too bad I can't do that. There's no way I'm going to leave you here while you continue to blame yourself for what happened.
Really? Then who should I blame?
If I hadn't left her, then all this wouldn't have happened. It was supposed to be a happy occasion, Darium. No one expected anyone to be bold enough to poison the queen in a place filled with people and guards, especially not in the presence of their king. So, how the fuck could you have expected something of this sort to happen? I laughed bitterly, my eyes void of any emotion.
Yeah, and look what happened. Letitia almost lost her life, and we both lost a child.
Pain gripped my chest. I won't pretend to know how you are feeling right now, but I can imagine it feels like your heart is being ripped into two. I don't know what I would do if Neith was in the same condition as Letitia. The thought of losing my daughter terrifies the hell out of me. But this doesn't mean it's the end. You might have lost a child, but there is still time for you both to have as many as you want, despite the fact that you think you failed Letitia. It's not your fault this happened. If you still think it is, why don't you do right by her? How? How exactly do you suggest I do right by her? How do I solve this? How do I make sure she doesn't get hurt again? What if I fail to protect her again? You can't possibly have forgotten who you are. Nico questions. You are the feared, ruthless king of the Nisha. Your name sends shivers to your enemies. The fact that some could think of harming the queen isn't just an attack on you, but an attack on the people and the throne. We are going to make them pay Darium, and whoever did this is going to wish they had rethought their plan because we won't show mercy. They are going to wish for death, but won't be privileged to get it. You aren't alone in this, Darium. You have the guards in the palace. Some of them have been stationed at the door of their queen's chamber without a blink of an eye. The people are gathered at the tower, praying for the recovery of their queen. We will make them pay, and that's a promise from me to you. I knew for certain he meant every word he said. He was closest to me for a reason, someone whom I always trusted to have my back. And he was right. I needed to keep the pain down. I needed to focus more on making sure Letitia was okay. And despite everything, I still stand by my words about not letting her know. I wasn't sure if this was the right decision or not, but I knew I couldn't bear seeing her in pain. even if it meant keeping such a heart-rending secret. And why, Nico? Thank you, Nico, you have done well being by my side. For now, all you need to do is be by Letitia's side. He rises to his feet, his clothes soaked. He stretched his hand out for me to take, helping me up to my feet. Let's get you back in the palace and out of this rain. Neith is going crazy, worried that you might fall sick somewhere or, worse, that you are doing something to harm yourself. We walked back to the horses, climbing on it as we rode back to the palace. Like Nico said, we were going to make them pay.
3 weeks.
Darium's POV.
I was in my chancery, finishing up some paperwork, not because I wanted to but because I had to. I still needed to carry out my duties, no matter how much I wanted to stay beside.
Letitia!
It has been 3 weeks since the incident, 3 weeks since I got to see those beautiful eyes of hers. She was slowly healing, and the healer was certain that the poison had been cleared from her body, yet we have no idea why she hasn't woken. And as much as I was trying to remain sane, it wasn't easy. She was the only reason I haven't given in to my taste for vengeance. I was on the verge of exploding with the dark thoughts that swirled over my mind. But I wasn't going to give in to it, not now. I needed to wait until Letitia woke up. I needed to know that she was going to be okay without any permanent damage. This was my priority. I tried to keep my focus on her and not on other things. I couldn't let my mind wander off to what I had lost. It didn't help that for the past few weeks, the palace has been bleak and dark, with everyone walking on eggshells around me. You could hardly hear the sound of laughter. It had been cold and silent since the incident. The guards and maids were all somber. It was like a wave of depression splashed through the palace, and it wasn't just the palace but the towns. There were hardly songs of celebration, not with the people gathering at the tower every single day for the past 3 weeks, praying for the recovery of their queen. I still found it amazing that, despite being here for a short while, Letitia managed to not just gain the people's trust, but their love. They were ready to lay down their lives for her. Not that I blame them, she just had this aura around her that made people adore her. I carried on with the documents in my hand, going through them. It was already dark, which meant the healer should be in my chamber, checking in on the queen. He had assured me that she would wake any time and that her body still felt weak but was slowly regaining its strength. A deep sigh left my mouth, and I continued with my work. I needed to get this done as fast as I can, so that I could go back to my chamber. I flipped through the document, picking out the important parts of it. This carried on for hours before I left the chancery and returned to the room. I walked in to see her sleeping form. She looked so beautiful and peaceful. Walking over to the seat beside the bed, the same spot I have been in for the past 3 weeks. I sat on the chair, watching her as she breathed in and out. My hand reached out to touch her cheek, softly caressing it with my thumb. I wish you would wake up so that I can see those beautiful eyes of yours. I whispered quietly into the dark before laying my head down on the bed beside it. My eyes are still glued to her face, watching her. I stayed like this, just watching her till the next morning without taking a break. This was my daily routine after finishing my official matters and staying here with her. Sometimes I would read to her, reading some of her favorite romance novels. I was hoping she would hear me, and if she did, it would soothe her. My hand brushed her hair back, twirling some around my fingers. I had no paperwork today, so I was going to stay and read to her. I grabbed the book at the side of the bed, flipping to where I stopped and began to read, with my hand wrapped around her own. I'm not really certain how long I sat beside her, reading as the day went by, with the healer coming over to check on her for a brief moment. I was absent-mindedly playing with her fingers, placing kisses on them as I massaged them. My hold on her tightened when I heard a knock on the door. Gradually rising to my feet, I walked to the door and pulled it open to see Neith standing there with a tray of food in her hands. She gave me a weak smile before walking in. Any improvement? No, I responded, going back to my seat. I brought something for you to eat. She said this, placing the tray on the table. I'm not hungry. Daruim. I'm not hungry, Neith. I said sternly, not removing my eyes from Letitia as I grabbed hold of her hand again. You need to eat something, Neith said, adamant to let it go. You haven't had anything solid for 3 days straight, and the only reason you ate was because Nico and Zane pleaded with you. You can't keep doing this to yourself. Letitia won't want this. I sighed, annoyed at her tone and how she constantly used Letitia's name to get me to do things. Do you think using her name every single time is going to get me to do what you want? I asked, frustrated. It might have worked a couple of times these past few days, but I don't plan on leaving her side or taking a bite of food with her still laying here. If you keep doing this, you are going to end up getting sick, which isn't going to do you any good. She mutters, her gaze shifting towards Letitia. I know you probably think I use her to get you to do things you don't want to do, but you know damn well that I'm right. She won't like it if she sees you acting this way, brother. She said this before walking out of the room. Glancing over at the food on the table, I inhaled. Just as I was about to get up from my seat, I felt a light twitch against my hand. My eyes widened, and I stared down at my locked hand with Letitia's. Was I imagining things, or was she finally waking up? Grabbing her hand with both of mine, I brought it to my lips, laying a kiss on it. Letitia baby, little bird. It twitched again. It was a slight movement of her hand, but I saw it. A huge grin plastered against my face, and ecstasy filled me up. Letitia. I called out her name, hoping to get the same reaction as before, and I did. Before I knew it, I leaned down, showering her kisses. Warmth spread through me. It has been a while since I had a smile on my face, and yet the ray of hope of her waking up made me grin from ear to ear. Completely ignoring the food Neith brought, I remained by Letitia's side. I wanted to be here when she opened her eyes. Time went fast, and it was dark again. Neith came back into the room with another tray of food, taking back the one she brought before. She didn't say anything this time, but sighed and left. I paid no heed to her, not even a bat of an eye. Getting up from the chair, I walked over to the other side of the bed and laid on it, with my head resting on my palm. I waited in anticipation, waiting for her to move again. My heart spiked when I saw her eyes move from side to side at a fast pace. I took a hold of her hand and gave it a tight squeeze, and she did the same, holding onto mine firmly. My breath seized as I yawned for her to open her eyes. I traced my hand over her face, silently begging for her to open her eyes. It felt like I was going nuts. My breathing became faster as the moment passed, and her eyes moved again, going side to side before, ever so slowly, peeling open. She groans, closing it shut for a second before fluttering it open again, blinking a couple of times before her eyes darted around the room, settling on me. I remained still, not moving. It all felt like a dream, seeing her sparkling blue eyes. I wasn't sure if I was breathing. Her eyes widened, and she opened her mouth to speak but instead ended up wincing. It's okay, love, you don't need to say a word. I brushed my hand over her hair with a huge smile on my face. You're okay. Her hands shoot up to grab my cheek, running her thumbs over it. That was when I realized I had tears falling from my eyes. She tried to speak again, but I placed a finger on her lips, stopping her. She was still weak, and I didn't want her to use up the little strength she had. I climbed out of bed, making my way to the door, when her hand held onto my clothes, causing me to stop in my tracks. I turned to look at her, and she slowly shook her head, letting me know she didn't want me leaving her side. And as much as I didn't want to either, I knew I needed to alert the healer and let him know of her regaining consciousness. I smiled softly at her, letting her know it was all going to be okay. I am not going away, Letitia. I said it calmly. I just want to inform the guard to get the healer. She stared into my eyes, hesitant to let me go. Slowly, she let go of my shirt, her eyes watching my move as I walked towards the door. I pushed it open to see Kalen standing there with a passive look on his face. Get the healer, I ordered. Tell him the queen is awake. Relief crossed through his face, the side of his lips lifted up in a smile, and he bowed his head, racing out of the hallway. Rushing back into the room, I got back to Letitia's side, taking a hold of her hand. None of us said a word as I brushed my hand through her hair. The door burst open with Neith running in, and she stood trying to catch her breath. Her eyes blurred with tears when she caught sight of Letitia's open ones. Nico and Zane trailed behind her, letting out relief breaths. Letitia, Neith says, walking closer to her, but I stopped her before she could hug her. She is still weak, Neith. I said it a little sternly. It's best we wait for the healer to come check on her. She nods, taking a step back, but doesn't leave the room. They sat on the couch, their eyes glued to the bed, even when the healer finally arrived. He did his work, checking her pulse among other things. Her pulse seems to be okay, her breaths are even. Though she is still a little bit weak, with constant nutrients and proper medication, she should regain her strength in a week. He said, "You don't have to worry anymore, Your Majesty, Queen Letitia, is going to be just fine." The smile on my face widened at his words, and I stretched my hand out for him, which he gladly took. "You have done well," he bows, walking out of the room. After the doctor left, Nico, Zane, and Neith also left. Neith was a little reluctant to leave. I climbed back on the bed, wrapping my hand around Letitia's fragile form. Her head rested on my chest, and I placed a kiss on her forehead. "You scared me. The thought of you leaving scares me to death," I whispered in her ears. "I don't know what I would do if I ever lost you. You are my weakness, Letitia. Thank you for coming back to me."